welcome back to Behind the Gloss. I'm Shakaya Monet, and today I am here with Liz Hanson, the owner and founder of Chicago Boudoir Photography. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, thank you. I have to say, I had so much fun kind of researching you and following like your entrepreneurial journey. Like, you have such a presence on social media and things. So, we're gonna talk about it. You've photographed like over 2,000 women, and I'm sure empowered so much more. And like I said, you have this photography company. So, I want to go back to the beginning of when you first picked up that camera. Like, what made you pick up the camera to begin with?
I mean, I've loved photos since I was a kid. I'm old enough that I grew up with a film camera, and I always loved taking pictures of my pets and my family as a kid. I started out professionally taking photos of families and weddings. I'd take you to the lake or the beach and take some pictures, family photos. And then I got a job working at a photo studio here in Chicago, and they did some boudoir there. Now, if you have never heard of boudoir, boudoir is a fancy French word that means a woman's bedroom. And a boudoir photo shoot is a chance for a woman to come into the studio and feel confident and sensual in her own skin. We take sexy photos that she can have for herself or to give as a gift. And so I got this job at this photo studio, and I did not know that boudoir was a thing. I did not know that women booked sexy photo shoots. I just had never heard of it, never done it. But I worked at this studio for 3 years, and I saw how women walked into the studio feeling nervous and scared, and then they walked out of the studio with a spring in their step, feeling confident, and I just got hooked on boudoir. So after I worked there for 3 years, I am the woman who owned that studio relocated her studio to Florida. I'm based in Chicago, and so I decided to open up my own boudoir boutique.
Can you just walk us through the boudoir experience for those of us who've never done a photo shoot like that before?
Yeah, so boudoir can be whatever you want it to be. I have a commercial studio set up here in Chicago, and how much skin you decide to show in your photo shoot is up to you. Everyone who comes into the studio, we have a phone call first. I want to make sure that I know a little bit about you. I want to know why you want to do a photo shoot. Why now? And why boudoir? What does this mean to you? Is this for a special occasion or just to celebrate you? Will you be showing these pictures to anyone, or will you be keeping them private just to yourself? What kind of vibe do you want so that we can customize a photo shoot, a photo experience just for you? Then on the day of your shoot, you're going to come to my studio. I have 100% female staff, and I'm in a commercial space, so you're not going to like end up in some creepy basement or anything like that. And the first thing we do is professional hair and makeup. So I have a beauty team on staff to get you camera ready. It's part of the pampering experience. You are the queen for the day. We are going to take care of you. All you have to do is show up. So first comes hair and makeup. Then next we talk about wardrobe. Before you come in, I'm going to send you a guide with suggestions on things you can bring. And of course, I have things at the studio as well. After we get your wardrobe all set, you're going to walk into the studio. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do and how to pose. You don't have to know how to do this. You don't have to practice in front of a mirror. You don't have to be sexy. I specialize in awkward people. So you can be super awkward and come in. I'm going to make you look great no matter what. And then my favorite part is this. I'm going to create a slideshow of your photos for you to see right then and there. And here's why. First off, I love the instant gratification, right? Like you take the photos, you're like, did we get anything good? I want to see them right now, right? So I'm going to show you this. I have a screen set up at the studio. I'm going to plug in my laptop and show you the pictures right then and there. Also, I want you to see the pictures without Photoshop. Listen, I will Photoshop your pictures. I will remove your acne or cellulite, whatever you want, but I want you to see them without Photoshop first. I want you to see how gorgeous you are just as you are. I want you to see your beautiful self right here, right now, today. No filter, no Photoshop. So many people look at the pictures and they say to me, I can't believe I love them. They're not even Photoshopped yet. And that is my number one goal. So I'll show you a slideshow of the pictures. We'll go through them, pick your favorites, and then from there you can decide how you want to enjoy your pictures. We can either design an album, you can get a digital download, or maybe you're going to get some wall art framed, put on your wall. I have some little gift items you could give to someone. So you'll decide what you want to get from your photo shoot, then you'll pack up and leave, and everything will be ready, 2 to 4 weeks later. So that's the boudoir, the Chicago boudoir experience in a nutshell.
You're letting them kind of choose how they're going to go. Like they're in control because it is quite vulnerable. And I love that you said you specialize in awkward people because it is kind of like, wait, I have to like pose and be like sensual or whatever. Like it can be like quite intimidating. And like I said, you're empowering women. And I know you said this is a mission of yours, but like to you, what does it mean to be empowered?
Yeah, you're right. Empowerment is sort of my mission, right? So, boudoir is my business, right? Like that's what I am doing. I'm providing this photo experience and these photo products for people. But I have this broader mission to help women feel empowered and confident in their own skin. And to me, empowerment, I mean, that's a word that I think gets thrown around a lot. To me, empowerment means owning your body, owning your story, owning your voice, right? Mm-hmm. So having the power to choose and using that power to choose. What do you want for your life? It doesn't mean that you have to live your life how some other empowered woman lives their life. It doesn't mean a prescription. It doesn't mean I'm telling you how to live your life. It means that you have the power and the choice to live your life on your terms, to do what you want to do. I think so often as women, we have been socialized to believe that there's only one way to be, or one way to be good, or one way to be feminine, or one way to be right. There's one path, and you follow it, and you're doing good, and you don't, and you're not. And I want to challenge that a little bit and encourage women to dig deep and find out what it is that they want out of life and make choices for them, and as opposed to making choices for other people.
Ooh, that's so good. Thank you. Because I know I kept saying, I want to empower women, empower women. And then I'm like, wait, what exactly does that mean? So thank you for, like putting it into words. And I really love everything you were saying. It did remind me of your TEDx talk, which I want everyone to go and listen. Again, I felt empowered after the talk, but it's called Nudity Isn't Naughty, or it doesn't have to be naughty, I think. But in it, you were talking about this taboo tax. So can you kind of say like what the taboo tax is?
Well, first off, thanks for listening to my TEDx talk. Yeah, about 18 months ago, I gave a TEDx talk. You know what TEDx is? It's kind of like a TED Talk, but they're locally organized. And I gave a TED Talk about the power and beauty of nudity. So a lot of times nudity is seen as this very naughty thing, right? Like we're not allowed to be naked, right? And my whole talk was not to like just go out and be naked just willy-nilly, but to find ways to experience your naked body and nudity in powerful consensual spaces. So what the taboo tax is basically like the price that we pay for stepping outside the lines. So think about this, like you stand up and want to do something different, be different. Sometimes there's like a social cost to that, right? Like you may be shamed, you may be told to sit down, you may be told to be quiet, you may be told you're not good. In a religious context, you may be told that it's a sin, you may be told that it's dirty. Your family may not approve. Your current circle of friends may tell you you're not, hey, we don't like what you're doing anymore. Where's the old Liz? Where's the old person we loved, right? When you try to make changes or grow, right? So that's what I mean when I coined this little term, the taboo tax. Just basically like when you try to push boundaries or do something, you may have a price to pay. And I think a lot of times that price is worth paying. And you just say, hey, I'm doing this anyway. But to be aware of it, right? So like, I know that there may be a social cost to this choice that I'm making.
I like that term because I do definitely feel it. And for you, did you feel it as an entrepreneur? Like when you kind of told family and friends, hey, I'm going to start my own boudoir photography business. Did you feel like you were kind of paying a taboo tax with that?
Oh, 100%. And in fact, I still feel like I do all the time. So when I first started my studio, first there were two pieces of it. Number one, to go out on your own and start your own business, rather than, keeping up with the corporate job or doing something safe that has a salary, right? That's its own sort of stepping outside of the lines, right? At least for me in my circle, when I started my business, I didn't know anyone who was really a solopreneur. A lot of people in my family and in my close circle they had corporate jobs, or they were a doctor or a nurse or a lawyer or a teacher, right? So now I know a lot of business owners. I'm friends with a lot of boss babes. But back when I started, I really didn't have very many role models or people in my circle that I could look to and say, well, she's a business owner. He's running his own thing, right? So for me, stepping out and opening up my own business, opening up my own studio, that was like the first like coloring outside of the lines that I was doing, right? And then on top of that, I was opening a taboo business, right? Like boudoir is a little bit spicy. It's a little bit naughty, right? Like I
Yeah.
wasn't opening up a studio to take headshots. I wasn't opening up a tax accounting service, something sort of normal and like everyone needs, right? Like I was opening up this naughty, spicy boudoir studio, right? So, in fact, to my family and close friends, some of them I kind of kept it under wraps for a little bit. I was like, "Oh, I'm doing a studio. I might do some headshots or things." Um, but now I feel a lot more confident in just owning
Mm.
what I do. I have found a lot of joy in sharing. I even sometimes like to be like, "Oh yeah, I do something naughty. I take naked pictures and watch people squirm a little bit." I don't know. I get a little bit of a thrill out of that sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I in my life have made some choices that I felt like have had a little bit of social cost, but I was willing to do it, and I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, you kind of have to be used to coloring outside the lines or being a little, as the kids say, delulu, because you have dreams that, obviously it hasn't been created before. Like there hasn't, like obviously there's been other, boudoir spaces, but there hasn't been a Chicago boudoir that you are doing because yours is so unique. So again, you have to kind of go outside the lines with that. And again, we thank you for doing that because it's paying off. Like I said earlier, you photograph so many women, and you were even talking about how they often will like cry after you show them the pictures because, like you said, they didn't think that they didn't see their own beauty. So I love that you're able to show them the beauty. But for you, after taking so many pictures of so many people, like, do you still see the beauty in yourself? And are you empowered by taking pictures of other people?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, yes, some women do cry when they see their pictures, and I think it's just there's something like deeply emotional about that moment when you see yourself in a way that someone else is seeing you. It's not about vanity, it's about validation, right? It's not about so often as women, we allow ourselves to not be the center of our own story, right? So like wedding photos, family photos, raising a family, working for like so often as women, I just think we are decentered. We're not or we allow ourselves to take a back seat. For a woman to sign up for a boudoir photo shoot and say, no, I am worthy of this. I am worthy of being documented. I am worthy of being a sensual being, of kind of taking like ownership of this part of me, that can be an act of courage. And seeing those pictures and admitting and admiring what you've done, like it's kind of sometimes I think an emotional release for women that is long overdue, right? Like it's sort of this pent up, like I knew I was worth it, I knew that I deserved this, and then here it is. So that's where the tears come in, those happy tears. And yes, hearing other women's stories, being with them has changed me. Absolutely. So, women come into my studio for all kinds of different reasons. sitting with women in both those happy times and in those harder times, because I'm with each woman in the studio for several hours, 3 to 4 hours. I take one client per day. I can really focus on them and their experience, right? And we're there together. She is the queen of the day. And I really get to know you a little bit when you're in the studio. I get to hear your story and I get to cry with you and rejoice with you and celebrate with you. And seeing those stories and being a witness to that and being part of that has absolutely changed me. And I will forever remember some of the stories of courage and fortitude that I have seen at the studio.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so happy that you're doing that. And to be honest, when you said like one woman a day, I think, like in the entrepreneur, you're like crunching numbers. I'm like, wait, but like, is that good? And like, business could be better if it was more a day, but it's not about that. It's about empowering women. So, yeah, thank you for helping. Like, I'm sure you're changing lives when you're giving that one on one to women because everyone deserves a chance to have their day in front of the camera, feel gorgeous, feel beautiful. So, yeah, I hope anyone listening isn't hesitant to, try a boudoir photo if you want to, I guess take pictures with your clothes on first. That's good too. But have the experience because, again, I think as women, like, we're ashamed of our bodies. And yeah, like, why do you think that is? Like, where do you think that kind of comes from? Why we're afraid to be naked?
I think the body shame and the taboo around the human body runs very, very deep. I mean, think about like the very first pages of the Bible. It talks about Adam and Eve covering up because they were ashamed, right? Like Michelangelo painted some nude bodies in the Sistine Chapel, and then a pope came later and painted little underpants on them to cover up because the bodies couldn't be seen, right? Think about like Victorian standards where we had to, like it was women were wearing clothes to the wrist and down to the ankles because showing the body was too revealing, right? So we have like ancient and like Puritan strains coming at us of this idea that the body is somehow wrong or shameful or dirty or embarrassing. Or I think women also have that, no matter what size we are, we're always the wrong size too. There's something always wrong with your body. Like you should lose weight. Oh no, now you're too thin. Oh, you're too big here but too small here. But like um you know it just comes at us from all sides. Of course, men suffer from some of this as well, but it comes at women particularly hard with the beauty standards that have been promoted on the internet and with magazines and fashion runway models and all kinds of things. It just comes at us. I've read some stats about, 100 times a day you see, beauty standards coming at you through your phone. And I think what it takes is a really conscious effort to kind of deprogram yourself from some of that and to work on some self-acceptance. One of the things I really work on at the studio, and like you said, my whole goal of having one client per day is really to give people that space and that time to feel something. So I, of course, like you said, I am a business and I sell a product, but it's not just about the final product, the album that we're creating or the wall art. What I want people to have is an experience as well in the studio, right? So a lot of us are craving really meaningful experiences, right? We're on a screen all day. We were quarantined during the pandemic. What we want is some authentic experiences with other humans. And boudoir is one of those opportunities where you really can be there with me one-on-one and feel something and do something with your body. This isn't AI. This isn't a screen, right? Like you are doing something for yourself, taking some time for yourself. In my opinion, it's really an act of self-care. So my idea about body acceptance, though, is this. I think, we have a whole body positivity movement where we say, like, you're beautiful just as you are. And I believe that. And it can be a leap too far for a lot of people. So to go from like, I really hate my body, or I hate my tummy, or I hate my height, or my feet, or my eyes, or my hair, or whatever, to going like, oh, all of a sudden I just love all those things, right? Like that is just, it's a bridge too far just to suddenly go from like I hate my body. I love my body. And so when you try to make that mental leap, when it's too far, you just don't get there and you end up back right where you started. So
Mm,
one of the things I try to help people do is go from body negativity to body neutrality. Okay? So you start at body negativity, I hate my body, I'm old, I'm fat, I'm wrinkled, whatever, to go to body neutrality, which is just this. I have a body. I have a body, and this body allows me to do things. I have legs that allow me to walk. And I like to walk places, right? My tummy allows me to laugh and digest food, right? My arms allow me to hold things and type, do things, right? So if you can kind of get off the merry-go-round of I hate my body and what it looks like and get on the idea of I have a body and I love what it does for me, then you are in body neutrality. And that's where I want people to start.
thank you. That's really good because I was a victim of that, trying to do the body positivity. And to your point, I think I was like loving all bodies except mine because I would be like I actually like aired an episode about body positivity, and with the girl I was talking to, we're like complimenting each other. I'm like, you're so beautiful and like your shape and this and that. And then we came to a realization like, oh, all the compliments I'm giving you is things that I don't like about myself. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe I'm being positive, but I'm not accepting my body as it is, which again was like a big realization. But to your point, we are being like inundated with all this information, if we can call it that, about like what's hot and what's not. And yeah, just
Yeah.
trying to silence that and just look in the mirror and be like, okay, this is what I have. And yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. Look at my body, my legs, they walked me into this room. I can see in the mirror and just accepting. So yeah, thank you so much. Like I can only imagine how your beautiful babes in the studio feel when you're kind of pouring all this life into them. But I did want to ask you because you do spend a lot of time behind the camera, but then you're also like on this podcast, you did the TEDx talk, like all of these things. So what's it like kind of being in front of the camera? Was that natural for you, or was that something you had to work on?
Definitely something I had to work on. So when I was first opening my business, I was sort of terrified of putting myself out there and being on camera, right? I had never been in a position where I had to be the face of anything or where I had to go out and talk about what I did. There were a couple of facets of it. First, I had a hard time just being like, here's me, look at my face. Like, I didn't really want to be out there in that way. And then I also had a really hard time selling myself. So at first it was hard for me, really hard for me to think about creating something and then accepting money for it. And a lot of artists, I think, go through this because, and I put myself in the category of an artist. I mean, my tool is not a paintbrush, it's a camera.
Yeah, it's
But
art.
when you create something yourself, sometimes to put a price tag on it can feel like you're devaluing it in a way, or that like I would have created this even if you didn't pay me. I was just happy to create it, right? And there can be this emotional disconnect when you suddenly are an artist and you're creating something and then you put it up for sale. And even as a photographer running a photography business, I ran into that a little bit, thinking like, well, how can someone give me money for this? Like, I'm doing this work, I'm helping them feel good about themselves, right? But I'm not running a charity, right? I'm running a business. It does involve a transaction of money, and people want to pay for things, right? Like, this is how our society works. We transfer energy via money, right? I pour my energy into creating the photos, and then you give me the energy back through your money when you buy them. Like, that's how our capitalist society is set up. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just what it's just how business works, right? But I had to do some inner work on that to realize, like, it's okay to accept money. It's okay for people to pay me for my time and my effort and my art, right? But that did not come overnight. I can remember the first couple times I had taking a credit card from someone at the store, and I had a card reader, and I just remember like shaking and being like, here's the credit card reader, and trying to take a credit card from them because I had never done anything like that. But look, when you have a salary job, when you work for a corporate job, you don't take the money directly. At least I never did, right? So
Yeah.
like you work and you get paid, but it's not like a direct transfer of money from a person. And
Hmm.
that was a little jarring for me at first. I had to get used to that. And I, again, as women, I think a lot of times we're socialized to believe that all of our labor should be free labor, right? Or at least a lot of it should be free labor, right? You should just take care of kids because you want to take care of kids. You should be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah,
That's
like
free labor. You should help people because it's free labor. And to suddenly say, no, my labor actually, there's a price tag on it and I accept money for it, that was a little bit of a mind shift for me.
that, like you just shifted my mind literally when you're like, yeah, women are conditioned to think that we can work for free. I'm like, wow. Because then, like, I've seen people talk about when women are asking for money, like, even if they're a stay at home mom or like getting a divorce and they're like asking for money. It's like, oh, well, she's a gold digger. And like, why does she need all this money? But it's like, well, if you're a stay at home mom, like, childcare costs. Because if you weren't staying at home, going to send the kids to daycare, that would cost. You could pay for a chef or you could have, whoever's at home cooking. So to your point, yeah, like the world does revolve around money. And even to that, like, I don't know, would you want to kind of touch on a bit how you set your prices? Because, like, I guess more to the point, did you initially kind of sell yourself a bit short because you were a bit nervous kind of asking for money for people?
Yeah, so one thing that I do that a little bit different from a lot of photographers is this. So a lot of photographers, what you do is you pay for like a photo collection up front. It might include digital images, it might be an album, might be whatever. You pay for the collection, and then the photographer takes pictures and sends you the photos, right? That's how it works for a lot of people. Here's how my business works. You pay a session fee to hold your date and time, and that includes like taking the photos and your hair and makeup. But um, you don't actually buy the pictures until after you see them at my studio. And here's why. I have a 100% happiness guarantee. If you see the photos and you're not just absolutely blown away by them, not only do you not have to buy them, but I will refund you your session fee as well. So I have this guarantee that when you come in, I you're the person who comes in and take their pictures, there's no risk, right? Like, because you're already trusting me to take pictures in this vulnerable state, I want you to have the confidence knowing that if you don't like the pictures, you're not out your money too. So that the way I run my business is that when you see the pictures, you decide what you love and what you want to buy. You can buy all the pictures, you can buy none of the pictures. I don't ever want you to feel locked in. So that has given me, actually, I think it's great for my clients because they get to see their photos before they buy them. But it's also great for me because I know that when I show you the pictures, if you like them, you'll buy them. If you don't like them, you don't have to buy them. I always know what's going on, right? Like I always know which pictures you loved, which pictures you don't love, what you really wanted. It's I haven't just sent you a gallery and then been like, bye. Hope you like them.
Yeah.
Good luck. Do you know what I mean? It gives me the confidence as an artist to understand what worked during the photo shoot and what didn't, what you like and what you didn't like, so that I know exactly what we're creating when we put the album together. And when I go into the next photo shoot, I know, okay, the last gal liked these kinds of pictures. I take more of those. So over the time, over years, I've honed my skills to create photos that more people love because I know exactly what people are loving, what they're not loving.
When you were saying like 100% guarantee, to me, because I'm like really anxious, that like gave me anxiety. Like, I have to take a perfect picture. Like, oh my gosh. But I love that you said, no, you actually have confidence and then confidence in yourself. And again, it's an opportunity to see, like, okay, what went right, what went wrong, which again, as entrepreneurs, that's so important. And another important thing, which is what you're kind of touching on, is building that trust with a client, which again is something you do so well. And another way that you do that is with your Facebook group, because again, like we were talking earlier about social media can, kind of, I guess, harm us in our body image, but you're actively creating a space that goes against that. So, yeah, what even made you want to create a Facebook group and connect with clients there?
So I do run a Facebook group. I have more than 10,000 local Chicago women in a Facebook group, and I started that right when I opened my studio because I felt this need to create some community. I, of course, I'm one on one with women in the studio, but then after they leave, I wanted a way to stay connected and I wanted a way to reach women in my community, even if they weren't coming into the studio. So I opened up a Facebook group, and it's free to open up a Facebook group, it doesn't cost anything. And I started just posting information in there about my mission to help women feel confident in their own skin, post information about what I was doing at the studio and why I was doing it. And it started real small, right? Like just a few people. I think there were, 40 or 50 people in the group, and I'd go on there and talk about what I was doing, why I was opening my business. And it started to grow, and people started to invite their friends because I really cultivated a place, a community, a group of women where we could empower each other, be there for each other. It's just turned into this really fun place to hang out. So every morning I post one thought-provoking question that you can think about and answer. And then I post sometimes polls where people can say, like, would you rather this or that? I post kind of behind the scenes content about what I'm doing. We have giveaways where I give away prizes and free photo shoots and things. And it's my favorite place on the internet to hang out. I'm there every day. I try to show up as me, as my authentic self, so people get to know me. In business, they always say the people who hire you, they hire you because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And so that's what I've really tried to do there, is to cultivate that know, like, and trust factor. Of course, I'm not for everyone. That's fine. There's some people who come to the group and they say, this is not for me. It's fine. But the people who do like what I'm doing and do resonate with my mission, they come and they stay and they engage. And it's been a really great place to be. And it's, of course, helped my business grow, right? Because when I go in there and talk about what I'm doing, people say, oh, what's that? Maybe I'd like to do that. What is this boudoir thing, So it allows people to kind of dip their toes into boudoir and what I'm doing before, they may join the group thinking, I'm never going to do a boudoir photo shoot. I don't even know what this is. But then they hang out in the group for a few weeks and like, wait, maybe I would do that. That looks cool. So it's been both personally fulfilling to have this Facebook group and also helped my business grow.
Oh, that's great. I want to join now.
You're welcome to join. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, like that's amazing. And I love what you're saying because I'm just kind of realizing this talking with another entrepreneurial friend. She has a food truck. And we were even talking about like, yeah, as an entrepreneur, we're kind of realizing we have to be the brand. We have to be the face of our business, which again, I'm sure when we all created our businesses, like, oh, I don't want to be the face, I just wanted to be behind the scenes. Was like, nope, here you are. But I love that you're creating a community for other women to speak up. And then you're even talking about, sometimes people might not like it and might leave the group, which, as an entrepreneur could be really hard when people are rejecting you. Obviously, that's part of the business. But if I'm remembering correctly, I think you were on another podcast kind of saying like, yeah, it's good to be rejected because that means that your marketing is working. I'm not sure if I'm paraphrasing correctly, but can you kind of talk about like positive rejection, I guess?
Yeah, this is a tough one, and it was tough for me at first because when you first open your business, I think you're like, I want everyone to come. I want everyone to buy from me, right? You're just like, my product is great. Everyone's going to want it. Everyone's going to buy it, and I hope they all come, right? But as you kind of work on your marketing and your messaging, what I have found is that you do want to attract some people, of course, but you do also want to repel some people. And this can be a little tricky, but there are legitimately people that you don't want to work with as clients because they don't value what you do and they don't resonate with your mission. So they're not going to be a good client. They're not going to buy from you anyway. So you don't want to eat up your time and your energy marketing to them. But to get your head around that, you have to realize like it's okay if I repel some people with my messaging because then I'm not wasting my time and energy on people who are never going to buy from me, or if they did buy from me would be unhappy with the product, right? First, get comfortable with the idea that it's okay if not everyone loves you, okay? That's hard. Start there. Then you have to start crafting a message that's specific enough to attract the right people and repel the others. If you are just super generic and bland, it will neither attract the right people nor repel the people who don't want it. It won't be strong enough to create a little bit of polarization to get the right people in and the wrong people out. So you have to kind of hone your voice, be yourself, be authentic, figure out who you're talking to and why, so that your message is specific enough, can cut through the noise to get the people you want and repel the people you don't want. Once you do that and you start with that specific message, you will notice some people will push back and be like, I don't like this. Okay? That's okay. That might mean that you're doing some things right, as long as the people that you do want to attract, you are attracting them. So it's definitely something I had to get comfortable with at the beginning. Because I was really uncomfortable with the idea of repelling anyone. I was like desperate for business. I needed some revenue, right? And the idea of repelling anyone with a wallet was like, no, I don't want to do that. But truly, you will come to realize in business that you don't want all 7 billion people on the planet at your door at the same time, right? You have to think about it that way.
Yeah,
And once you do that, you realize, no, I want this really specific slice of people, then those are the people you work to attract.
yeah, because I do think when people are doing the business plan, they do ask you to talk about like your target demographic and target audience, which I hope a lot of entrepreneurs like have that in your mind. But to your point, I think that's also just like going to knowing your worth and things. But it just sounds like you've learned so much. It sounds like you're almost a natural at being an entrepreneur. But for you, like, do you feel like you were destined to be an entrepreneur?
No. So it's interesting you say that. I do feel comfortable in my role as an entrepreneur now, but I've been doing this for like 7 years. And at the beginning of my journey, it was different for me. I was a teacher, and then I was a stay-at-home mom. I had not really planned on being an entrepreneur. I don't have a business degree. I had never really done anything entrepreneur. I feel like when you talk to entrepreneurs, a lot of times they're like, oh, I started out with my first lemonade stand when I was 7, and then I started selling candy bars in 8th grade. I actually didn't have kind of that entrepreneurial spirit as a kid or a teen. I was more interested in like the photography itself, not the business aspect of it. And I loved taking beautiful photos, and I loved editing photos, but I wasn't into like, how am I going to market this? How am I going to make money out of it? In fact, money was low on my list of priorities. I was mostly interested in how can I take better photos? How can I increase my artistic abilities, right? But then when I decided to open up my own boudoir boutique, suddenly it was like, if you're going to do this, it's going to cost money, because you got to pay rent, and you got to have employees, and you got to turn on the electricity, and you got to turn on the internet. And so this can't be a hobby. If you want it to be a hobby, fine, do it occasionally out of your living room, whatever. But if you're going to open up a commercial studio front and you're going to run a business, suddenly Liz Hanson, you got to learn some business, right? So it kind of came upon me sort of suddenly. In fact, so I'd worked at this studio for 3 years. I liked working for someone else. I was never I don't mind having a boss, actually. I think a lot of entrepreneurs also are like, well, I had to be an entrepreneur. I can't work for anyone else. Actually, I don't mind having a boss. I don't mind working for other people. I wasn't looking for a way out. But what happened was I was working for the other studio happily. I loved working there. It was a great place to work. I learned so much, was around great people, enjoyed the work there. But the woman closed her studio and relocated suddenly. Obviously, she had plans to do this, but I didn't know about it. So I was out of a job suddenly, and I came home and I said to my husband, I'm out of a job. I just got fired. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I need a new job. I'm going to start looking for a new job. And my husband's the one who said, well, why don't you open up your own place? And that had never occurred to me. Wow. Like, working there for 3 years, it had never one time occurred to me, like, I could do this on my own. No, I had no dreams of that. I mean, maybe this surprises you, but like, I just didn't have aspirations like that. I didn't mind working for someone else and all these things. So he said, why don't you open up your own place? And I was like, I literally have no idea how to do that. That was my answer. I was like, cool idea, bro, but like, I have no idea how to do that, right? I had no business background. I took like a big leap. I took out a business loan to get started. And that first year and a half, I made so many mistakes, right? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. But I learned so much through trial and error and doing it. If you want a personal development course, start a business. I'll tell you, you learn so much running a business. You grow so much, and you learn how to figure stuff out. You learn how to solve problems, and when things get presented to you, you're like, well, I don't have a choice here. I got to figure this out. There's only me here. Buck stops here. So you learn how to become resourceful and figure things out. And I'm so glad that I push myself to open a business and do these things because I have learned and grown so much from being a business owner in ways that I think are hard to do in. I will say that the two hardest things I've ever done are start a business and have a baby. They're just like that's what has stretched me and helped me grow and learn so much. And but it was not an overnight success for sure.
Wow. Well, because I've heard that businesses usually don't make money in their first 2 years. Was that true for you? Like, how did it feel when you were actually making a profit?
It was a big moment. So the first like 18 months, I was bringing in money, but then spending every dollar that came in, right? So I wasn't earning a profit, right? I was staying afloat, but not able to pay myself. I was only able to do that because my husband had a day job, right? So basically I worked a full-time job running the studio for 18 months for no pay, right? Because I was just trying to get the thing going, but I was able to pay the rent, pay my employees, but there was nothing left at the end of the day to pay myself. So those first 18 months were hard, right? Like to wake up every day and work full time for no pay can be hard, right? But I think a lot of entrepreneurs give up right when it's about to get good, right? You gotta push through that. I mean, now I could get a business off the ground faster than 18 months, but at the time I had no idea what I was doing, right? So anyway, the 18 months come up and I realize like things are getting better and I come home one day and I'm realizing I'm going to be able to pay myself like my first dollar, you know? It was a big deal. And I was like, I remember coming home saying to my husband, "Hey, I'm going to be able to pay myself this month for the first time." And he's like, "You should buy yourself something special." And I was like, "I don't want to buy, like, no, we're going to like pay off bills or whatever." He's like, "No, you got to like treat yourself because that will help you keep going to the next milestone in your business. When you remember that the money that you make in business, you'll always remember." So I went out and bought a Kate Spade purse. I'd never had something like that before. It was like a big splurge for me. I'd never had like a real, to me, this was like a big deal purchase. And I carried that purse until the straps fell off every day for years as like this is money I earned myself at the studio. And that was a big deal for me at the time.
Yeah, and just round of applause for the husband, like first saying, yeah, go start your own photography business, and then, oh, you made some money, go buy yourself something. Wow, like he's great.
Yeah, he's great.
We'll have to do another episode of like where you found him and like how other people can get someone as great as him. But yeah, you were saying like you had no clue how to start a business. So where did you start? Like, were you just going online trying to put a business plan together? Did you put a business plan together? Like, yeah, what was that first step?
So I definitely did not start with a business plan because that would have been way more advanced than I was. Like literally, you have to understand, like I was starting from ground zero. So I didn't have all the equipment I needed. I didn't have a credit card processor. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a CPA. I didn't have the first things I did were just shots in the dark, like, hey, I'll try this. I eventually, about a year or so into running my business, I joined a mastermind online, which was a group of photographers who were growing their business. And that was life-changing for me. And I will credit them for really helping me learn and grow and do things differently. And I think if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't found like a group of people that you can bounce ideas off of and learn from, like that can be really valuable. I had to pay to be part of this mastermind, and I remember I put on a credit card. We didn't really have enough money to pay for me to be in it, but I was like, I think I need this to figure out what I'm doing a little bit more in the business, and I'm so glad that I did, because just being around other people who are doing what you're doing, some good energy, some good ideas. I mean, they had courses you could watch, which were helpful, of course, too, but being in that group and bouncing ideas off was really, really valuable for me. And people would post problems that they were having in their business. And I was like, oh, I haven't had that problem yet, but I'll be on the lookout for that one. You know, things I didn't even know were coming my way, right?
Yeah.
So joining that mastermind was really, really helpful. Finding my group, my people who could help. I went to some photography conferences that were really helpful where people gave presentations on running businesses, and I took notes like crazy and then came home and implemented things. So I invested a lot of time and energy into learning what I needed to do. And yes, there are like random YouTube videos out there and tutorials and stuff, but actually paying for a course and getting on a plane and flying to a conference, like those things made really, really like noticeable differences in me learning how to run my business profitably.
Like what I'm kind of hearing is community, community, community. Just like you have that Facebook community group, it's so important, and that's why I have this podcast. Because yeah, I was starting this podcast like I don't know what I'm doing, how to market. So it's like, well, if I talk to other women who have their own businesses, like they can kind of help me, and they really have spoken life into me because my very first episode, I literally just had Wi-Fi in a dream, like no microphone, just like I think literally called someone on the phone. It was just talking to them and recording it. It's like, okay, don't know if this will turn into anything, but I love that you were just like, yeah, I had nothing, but you still started, which is so important to do. It took you about like 18 months to get that first check, but you started in 2018 because we all know we were all there 2020.
Yes, we were.
I can only imagine the story that you have. Would you like to share? I don't want to like re-traumatize you if it was traumatizing, but yeah, like how did you get through COVID? Oops.
So it's been interesting. I've been in business 7 years, and there's been two times where I basically had to start over again. The first was the pandemic in 2020, and then in 2024, my studio flooded and I lost everything inside the studio. I had to throw it out and start over again. So I've actually had to rebuild twice. In 2020, with the pandemic, I live in Illinois, I'm in Chicago, and we really shut down. We had a lot of shutdown like regulations in place. So I went to the studio one day, and then the next day I had to completely shut down. Um, and I remember coming home and like lying on the floor and crying because I was like, it was just at that time that my business had just started to get profitable. So I told you I worked for 18 months, and so I started in 2018. So when 2020 came around, I'd only had maybe 6 months of profitability, and then the pandemic hit. And I just remember thinking like all my work is down the drain. Like it's over. Here we are. It's done. Um, but I had some really important things that happened that helped me get through the pandemic. One, my landlord was very cool and gave us a break on rent during the shutdown. So that was really helpful. The next thing was that what I did was I went home. I wasn't legally allowed to have clients in the studio. But what I did do was I got home and I like strapped myself to my laptop and I got to work online. So I really worked on building that Facebook community, working on my online presence, my SEO. So instead of just going home and making sourdough bread, no shade to anyone who liked sourdough bread during this pandemic, I kept working full time. So I did everything I could do online. And when we did open back up, I had like 60 clients ready who were waiting for me to open, who had booked and paid a session fee, were ready for their shoot. So I just kept working and booking people, and I was like, I'll take your money now, and then as soon as pandemic's open, I'll have you in. So I kept working and marketing and booking. And here's the thing, everyone was at home and they were online. So I was able to like reach people. I grew my Facebook group. I blogged. I took pictures of myself in the studio. I'm like, hey, I'll go to the studio and take, selfie photos. I did a funny boudoir photo shoot of myself in lingerie holding like toilet paper and masks and stuff just to be goofy. So I did a thing, in my group, I did a thing where I raised money for our local healthcare workers to bring them hot meals from a local caterer who donated the meal. So I did everything I could online from home to increase my online presence, increase my community, and have bookings ready so that when I opened, it worked out. So I was able to kind of get through the pandemic that way. I'm the kind of person that I can't sit at home and just like not do anything anyway. So I was like, had to channel like my nervous energy into something. So I just poured it into the online part of my business. You might think that since I have a commercial studio and I take pictures in person, that I'm a real brick and mortar store, and I am. But my online presence and my online community to me is just as an important part of my business because it's the online that brings people into the brick and mortar. No one ever books a boudoir photo shoot without looking for it online first, right? Like you're not just out one day out shopping and you see a boudoir studio and then you're in there taking pictures in the underwear, right? No, you're first looking at it online, you're checking out Instagrams, you're doing things like that. So that online part of my business is like just as important as the brick and mortar. So that's what I worked on during the pandemic.
Oh my gosh. And then you said in 2024 there was a
Yes.
flood. Again, I don't want to re-traumatize you, but
No, you're so cute.
yeah, like how
Yeah.
did you get through that?
So one day in January, I'm at home because it's like, I think it was like January 3rd or something. It's still kind of like when things are closed for New Year's and stuff. I'm
Oh,
just at home. It's at like 9 o'clock at night. And I get a call from, so my studio is in, the bottom is commercial and then the top of the building are apartments. So I'm on the bottom floor, but there's people who live
oh,
above. And I'm kind of friends with some of the people who live in the building because I've been there for so long. I get a call from one of the gals and she's like, I think you should come check out your studio. Something's not right. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't know, just come down here. I'm like, oh boy. It is like negative 30. I don't know, Chicago in January, right?
cold.
It's freezing. It's like a really, really cold night. Get in the car, I drive down there, walk up to my studio, and I could see, so there's a glass door in the front of my studio where you go in the front, and there's just water running down the inside of the glass door. And I unlocked it, and what had happened was a pipe in the ceiling had burst because it was a really, really cold weekend. And you know, when a pipe, water gets frozen in a pipe, the water expands, and then the pipes, and there was just water everywhere in the studio, and everything got, all my electronics, my cameras, my furniture, all of my sample albums. I mean, you can imagine none of this stuff can survive water, right?
Whoa.
So everything was cold and wet and sopping wet and ruined. And so yeah, we called a junk removal company and literally they shoveled my whole studio into a dumpster. I mean, I was sitting there just again crying on the floor, just watching my whole business go into a dumpster because not, I mean, there were a few things we were able to salvage that were like plastic, but all of the upholstered things and the electronic things and the paper things, everything just got ruined. So we shoveled that all into a dumpster. And I went home and for a few days I was like, I'm not gonna restart my business. I'm done. Like I'm just gonna close. I don't want to restart. I don't want to be in that space anymore. Like
Yeah.
it was good. I did it for 6 years. I'm done, right? And then like after like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days of moping around, I woke up and I was like, no, I actually really love boudoir and love what I do, and I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna start again. So I called my insurance company. I got an insurance check. I went on Amazon and just like reordered everything that I had ordered for the studio. I went to TJ Maxx Home Goods and bought some more pillows. And I just opened it up again, decided to, and I remember thinking, well, at least I got some new sets. It was hard for me it was harder for me emotionally to restart in a way than it was financially. Because like the insurance check, like you can restart a business financially, but emotionally, my business requires so much of my heart and my soul, not to be like
Yeah.
cheesy, but like I really it like requires a lot of me to run the business and to take the photos and to be there with women and to help them. That's what was harder to recover than financially. I
Yeah.
had to get myself into a headspace where I was willing to rebuild that space again, and that's what was hard for me initially.
I love that you were, well, I guess I don't love that you said you were gonna quit, but the fact that you were just like, no, I really love this and I'm going to do this because I think that's like the true test of an entrepreneur. Like, two things. Are you really passionate about what you're doing? And two, are you willing to learn and try and fail and keep trying and keep going? Because I feel like, yeah, as long as you have those two things, you'll be successful, even if it is just, like a numbers game, like statistically speaking, we can't fail every time. But yeah, because I think you already touched on it, but what have you learned about yourself since becoming an entrepreneur and going through all of this? Like, yeah, just go ahead and brag about yourself and tell us, like, who you are after all this.
Well, I credit mostly the women who've come into the studio and shared their stories with me for like a new outlook on life. So I do think that I do think that being with people in a vulnerable state has taught me a lot about humanity. And I mean, I know that sounds kind of like cheesy, but just being with women in a vulnerable state when they share what's in their heart with me, and that has just filled me with a sense of awe for what people have overcome and how they've done it, and also a sense of compassion for, you just have no idea, the people walking down the street, the people you run into the store, like what they have been through and what they're coping with, and what's, everyone has a story and everyone has been through a lot. And if you don't think they have, you just don't know them and you don't know their story yet. And so I've gained like a lot of respect just for what people are capable of doing, what they're capable of achieving, the goodness that there is out there in the world.
I know in my little running of this thing, I have panic moments and freakouts, but then talking to other people and hearing their stories, be like, wow, you survived that. Okay, like I can keep going. Like I can do this, and really learning from people. So I really hope that someone has learned from this episode. I know I've learned a lot, definitely like more prideful in my body and more inspired to keep the podcast going. But again, we've been talking about boudoir photography. Do you have any advice for anyone who maybe wants to but is still a bit nervous to, strip down in front of a camera? Any advice to, yeah, even learning how to love our bodies?
So if you've been thinking about doing a boudoir photo shoot, if it's on your bucket list, my number one recommendation is give me a call. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to hear about what you're looking for, what your fears are, and it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. One of the reasons a boudoir photo shoot is fun is because it's not boring. It's out of your comfort zone. It's something a little crazy, right? And so that's like, it's okay to feel nervous about it because you're doing something out of your comfort zone. So nerves are okay. I'll be with you every step of the way. And it all starts with that phone call where we discuss what it is that you're doing. Now, if there's a reason why this is on your bucket list, there's a reason why you've been thinking about doing it. And that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about why you're calling, right? Like, why is it that this is on your list, and why are you scared to do it? So start there. Just know that like boudoir isn't about fitting into a mold. It isn't about having the perfect body. It isn't about meeting some beauty standard. Boudoir is about celebrating you just as you are right now, because you are valuable and worthy of being documented right now.
As an entrepreneur, do you have any other advice?
My advice to an entrepreneur who might be struggling is this. Find out what it is in your business that is the pain point. So I think a lot of times people are just like, oh, well, I'm not making enough money. Fine. Okay, let's back that up. Are you getting leads? Are those leads coming in? I mean, depending what industry you're in. But like for me, I have to have a certain number of people come into my system who are interested. Then I have to get a certain number of them on the phone. Then I have to get a certain number of them to come into the studio, and then they have to buy the photos, right? So there's like this whole process, right? So you can say like, oh, I'm not making enough money. Where in the process is lacking? Because it might not be in the studio that the problem is. It might be 3 months earlier with getting people interested, right? So really focus on your process. Are you communicating to your audience? Do you need to grow your audience? Is your audience communicating back to you? Do you have systems in place that allow you to send messages even while you're sleeping when people get a hold of you? Where are those leaks? So often when I talk to photographers, they're just focused on the taking the photos moment of the business. Great. But there's so much more that goes into the business. And this can be said of any industry, right? So like, let's say you're selling sandwiches. Okay, there's that moment when someone buys a sandwich, but I'm sure, even though I know nothing about selling sandwiches, I'm sure there's that moment when you bought the bread and you bought the meat and you bought the tomatoes and you had the customer order it, and the customer, why did they come into your store? Like there's all these things before that too. So you got to look at the whole process from start to finish and figure out where it is that you can make improvements so that you at the end game. That's my number one thing for entrepreneurs, is about the process and the communication. Up until I hire a lot of entrepreneurs. Like I hire plumbers and people to come fix my house, and like other photographers take pictures of me, and I'm always noticing their process and what they're doing. And so often there's a lack of communication. Like I would love an email reminder about my appointment. I would love a follow-up afterwards, asking if I loved everything. And a lot of that is missing with entrepreneurs because you're so focused on your product and your craft that you're not focused on the whole ecosystem of your communication.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of you, that'd be another advice to other entrepreneurs. Like, of course, go into what you love, but understand there's going to be a lot more that you don't love, or maybe you aren't so natural with, that you do have to kind of like sharpen those skills. But I think you're in a test to, you will learn, you will figure it out, because from what I can tell, you're sharp as a whip with like the marketing and all these things. So that's really cool to see. And then now I kind of like to ask all my guests, like, in about 5 years' time, like, let's manifest. Where is Chicago boudoir photography? Where do you want it to be?
Well, I'd love to keep empowering women at the studio and having women come in. I've thought about doing some travel shoots. So maybe I meet you in Italy and do a shoot over there. Maybe we do some travel shoots in Greece, or I don't know, some waterfall in South America. I don't know. So I'd love to do some of that. I'd love to write a book talking about some of the things I've learned being a boudoir photographer. We'll see.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for what's to come. I'm praying only good things, and I'm so excited for like the travel specifically. I'm like, if you have a GoFundMe, I will put money into that because that sounds so exciting. And then, yeah, I like to end all of my episodes with this question. If you were to lose your voice tomorrow, what's the last thing that you would want people to hear from you?
I would tell my kids I love them.
That's
And my husband, obviously. Yeah, just send out love and light to the world.
Put your glass on. Put your glass on. Get your boss on behind the glass.
Mwah.